Okay, so lesson 1-4, module 1, lesson 4, and it's about solving one-step equations. I'm sure this will be elementary to you, so I'm going to go pretty fast and we're just going to fly through here. In an equation, the variable represents the number that makes the equation true, right? So x plus 2 equals 5. What number makes that true? 3. That's the only number that makes that true. But now if I said x plus 2 is greater than 5, 3 no longer makes that true. It has to be minimal of 4, right? Positive 4, if we're just doing whole numbers. 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 is greater than 5 to make that true. If I put this greater than and or equal sign under there, then I can go back down to 3. 3 plus 2 is equal to 5, so that makes it true. It's greater than and or equal to. So inequalities, equations, and that's what we're starting with. The addition property of equality, subtraction property, multiplication property, and division property. These guys all say one thing. I can't do it to the left of the equation if I don't do it to the right. Okay? That's what they say. So if I've got an equation that says x minus 2 equals 7, the way I solve that is by adding to both sides, right? X equals 9. Subtraction property of equality. If I had that x plus 2 equals 3, then to solve that, I take that 2 from both sides to find that x equals 1. Then if I had 2 times some number equals 10, or, I'm sorry, that one would go here. The multiplication property, let's say I had x divided by 3 equals 9. What number divided by 3 equals 9? Well, to solve that, the multiplication property says that I have to multiply both sides of that equation by 3. So x equals 27. Is that true? Does 27 divided by 3 equal 9? Yeah. So this division property says that I have to divide both sides by the same number, do the same thing to both sides to find out that x, 2 times what is 10? Well, 2 times 5. 2 times 5. So those are the properties of equality as they pertain to solving equations. Important stuff as we get more complicated, but now we're just going to do a couple of examples real quick. This first problem says solve by addition or subtraction. What is being done to that variable? Addition. So I use the opposite, which is subtraction, right? That goes away from there, and I'm just left with x on that side. Negative 12 minus 16 gives me negative 28. You can turn this video off at any time and try these problems, or you can watch it, okay? If you've forgotten and you need to be reminded of how to look at some things before you go through this. If you want to pause it now. Okay, so B, some number y minus 24 is equal to 113. That's a subtraction problem. I want to add that 24 to both sides. That knocks it off that side and leaves me with y equals 113 plus 24, which is 157. 137. So sorry. Added 1 and 2 and got 5. It's that day. All right. This division problem. Negative 5 times some number equals 125. So I use the property of division. of equality. I'm going to divide both sides by -5 to find that x equals -25. This is an example of a division problem. The variable is being divided by 6. So the multiplication property of equality says if I want to undo this, I multiply both sides by 6 to get rid of that. And I'm left with t equals 1/2 of 6, which is 3. All right, moving on. Multi-step equations is just an equation that requires more than one step to complete, to solve. So you must use inverse, that's the next word that we're going to talk about for a minute. Inverse operations. The inverse of division, multiplication. Inverse of subtraction, addition. Addition and subtraction are inverse properties, operations. Multiplication and division, inverse operations. So basically, you're doing that by working backwards. Inverse operation of addition. Ooh, there's a joke. That's subtraction. Let's put that word over here. That's typo, and I apologize. What's the inverse of subtract? Add. What's the inverse of multiplication? Divide. What's the inverse of division? Multiply. Okay. Let's keep rocking on here. Finish this up. So these are multi-step equations. Example 3, A and B. Once you pause and give those two a try, and then we'll come back and talk about them. So here's your answers for those two example problems. And this is what I wrote for the phone problem. Why don't I do x minus 1,000 times 15? Because you're going to get 1,000 minutes. But if you go over that, it's going to cost you 15 cents a minute. So you take your number of minutes minus 1,000 and then multiply that by 15. That also tells you how many minutes because you're solving for this x. So when we're done with this, you can solve for that x. Continue solving that out. Last part of this lesson, pretty basic, talks about solving equations with variables on both sides. So, you know that to do this, we must use the addition or substitution property to write an equivalent equation. So that we put all the variables together on one side. So this is the addition or subtraction. Get everything on one side, which is an equivalent equation. If an equation contains a grouping symbol, such as parentheses or brackets, you must use the distributive property to get rid of those. There's a couple of example problems here. Why don't you pause this video, take a minute and try those and see where you might have some problems, and then come back and look at the solutions. Okay, so there's the solution to the two example problems, example 5, A and B, and then again for example 6. You can pause anytime if I'm moving around too fast for you to check your work. But there's example 6. So let's talk about the last bit of this lesson, and then we'll go to lesson 5 in the next video. So some equations contain more than one variable. And an equation that involves several variables is called a formula, what we call a literal equation. So, example 7. The formula for the volume of a rectangle is the volume is equal to the length times the width times the height of the rectangular prism, where L is the length, W is the width, and H is the height. So it asks you to solve this for W. Let me write this out here. Volume equals length times width times height. I want to solve for that, so I need to move everything else away from it. These are being multiplied, so I can divide by length and height. That's an L, not an E, sorry. But if I do that to the right-hand side, I have to do that to the left-hand side. And then I wind up with this cancels, and I've got W equals volume divided by length times height. So volume divided by length times height. Try B on your own and come back, check your answer. So the line above that 6 means that that's a repeating decimal, 3.16666 in your calculator, whatever 6 is. Put that line there and just kind of knock that off. Or it could be rounded to 3.17 if you need to, depending on what your answer choices are when you're doing a problem like this. But that's the formula. You're given the volume, given the length, and given the height, not given the width. So to solve for that W, you're dividing. When you divide this and this, that goes away. When you come over here and multiply these two guys together and then divide that by the answer, you get what the width is. All right, guys, good luck on your practice for lesson 1-4. We're nearly done. Pretty sure there's only 5, maybe 6 lessons in this unit. Maybe it's just 5. I'm not going to speak to it either way because I don't know for sure, and I don't want to tell you I do if I don't. All right, good luck.